Can someone tell me why it's taking so freaking long?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download your podcast, the show is always free, and I always appreciate your support. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster, and they're going to do it for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Don't tease me, Coach Riley. Not in the mood. Got a smile on my face when I say that. When you speak, people come to attention. They want to know what you have to say. You're kind of like the modern day version of John Houseman. Look it up, youngsters. You'll understand. You know what? The same thing applies. Same standard applies when you start to use your social media account. Okay. I know you were throwing a party, having a good time. Maybe your finger slipped. I don't know. But that one fight on eventually turned into 3 of those in one message on X. We already know that one of them was for Hayden Lowe, the 4-star defensive lineman who prefers USC to boring Eugene, Oregon. Not my words, those are his. So getting Hayden Lowe from Oaks Christian, who he actually changed his official visit schedule. He wanted to dump Eugene. Yep, he did that on a Thursday. By sometime Saturday, he was committed to USC. So Lowe wasn't the only visitor who committed. As I mentioned, Coach Riley, you told us 3 at least, right? It's been long enough. How long are these, and I'm using my finger quotes now, these silent commits going to remain silent? And if they are silent commits, why go through the whole bat signal ritual? Why do that? Why tease? Sorry, Coach. You said something. Now finish the conversation. Unfortunately, Coach Riley, or anybody who's on the football staff, anybody affiliated with USC, they can't say anything. They're not allowed to. It's NCAA violation. You can't talk about these recruits unless they're actually signed, letter of intent, submitted and received. I know. Amazing. Hey, but that's what's keeping college football separated from the professional ranks right now, right? Right? You can't tell I'm being sarcastic. Anyways, we all have to wait for the young men to let it be known it was them. They're going to be the ones who say, yep, that one, that was for me. And that other one, that was for me. So I don't know. What's taking so long, right? Are we waiting for the commitment edits? That's like the new thing. You got to let everybody know that you're going to a certain school and it's got to look cool on social media. Are we waiting for these guys to let the other programs who are recruiting them know privately that they're no longer available? You know what? I'm totally cool with that if that's the case. Because look, it's not easy telling a head coach thanks, but no thanks, especially at that age. It's got to be tough. Lowe was the big fish from California. Okay. There was another big time target who was doing his official visit over the weekend from California. Linebacker Noah McHale. Noah lives about an hour from campus. He's been at USC multiple times, at least 10 times, maybe more. But this last visit, it wasn't an unofficial visit. It carried some significance. It was his official visit. And it was also his first official visit that he's taken. This is what he had to say. It was a great visit, and it was a great way to start my official visits. I've been there a lot, so there really wasn't anything new for me to see. What was new was seeing how close the 2024 class has become so quickly, and that was nice. Overall, it was a nice visit, and I had a good time. One of the highlights was getting to know Coach Matt Entz more outside of football. I was there for spring practice, and we have been communicating since he got there. So we just got to know each other more this weekend. We talked about some X's and O's, but it was really about the plan for me, what the first 6 months would be like if I went there, and the opportunity for me there at linebacker. We had a great time, end quote. So, as I mentioned, USC was his first official visit. His next one is this coming weekend up in boring Eugene. He then goes off to College Station for June 21st, and then he is all set. He'll make his decision June 30th. So, let's say one of those that Coach Riley flashed out was for Noah. If he wants to keep it silent until he gets back from Eugene, Oregon, and god awful College Station, great, okay. But that was it. Those are your two California guys. Everyone else was from out of state. So that 17-2 ratio, because remember, you had 19 guys visiting. That kind of tells me that the other two commits, they're probably out of state guys. I don't think Noah was one of them. So there you go. And my everydayers have heard me say this. Right now, there's a feeling, there's a perception out there that maybe Noah is actually leaning towards boring Eugene. We'll find out soon enough. But as I mentioned, everybody else on their official visits, they're from out of state. So it has to be, right? Someone from Texas or Florida or Georgia or wherever they were coming from. Hayden Lowe went public. McHale's taken 2 more trips. So which of the visitors is it? There's really no timeline when a commitment makes their announcement public. But it typically happens within, 48 hours after they've taken their visit. Oh, we've passed that threshold. So what's taking so freaking long? By the way, the off season, it's taking too long as well. If you're making this your first listen on June 11th, you know what? That means that there are just 82 days left before USC and LSU kick off their season in Las Vegas. That's just 11 weeks away. I'm sure we'll know who the commits are by then. I'm going to make it my life's mission to find out who those other 2 commitments are before that game kicks off. Oh, by the way, I got in touch with somebody at ESPN. LSU is the home team for the Las Vegas Kickoff Classic. The person who answered the phone says, why is it so important? I said, well, USC fans consider USC the home team when they're wearing their cardinal colored jerseys with their gold pants. And I said, that's how they're considered the home team. And the person who answered, well, that's not always the case. The eyes rolled back. Yeah, trust me, I almost lost it. Anyways, LSU is the home team. If that's the case, LSU typically wears their white home jerseys at home. So good news. I'm assuming USC will be wearing cardinal and gold. LSU will be wearing white and gold. Everyone will be happy. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, now you know what sideline to pick. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster, and they do it for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than a billion professionals, and I spelled that with a B, which makes it the best place to hire. And hiring is super easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses, they get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and even quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions will apply. Are you watching Fox Sports, ESPN on your TV all day long, and you're constantly hitting that mute button because everyone's yelling and screaming? If you make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, it's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel, and it's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the yelling. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Who is Wili Wascher? Tell him Willie Boy was here. Wili Wascher, he's just the guy. He committed to USC after class of 2024 offensive lineman, center of the future. Jason Zandamela abruptly decommitted. Yeah, not shortly thereafter, he had an offer from Josh Henson, and it wasn't that much longer where he's like, you know what? I want the opportunity to play for USC. He committed. Unfortunately, Willie isn't eligible to join the roster until next winter at the earliest. He's a part of the 2025 recruiting class. He's one of USC's 13 commits in the class. And he's also, this is why I hate the star system, because it doesn't gauge, it doesn't predict the intangibles, the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Willie's the lowest rated among the group, 3-star. He's low. The only person rated high, the one person rated higher than him, and I told you about the politics of this, Gus Cordova. Gus is a true legit 4-star. Anyways, I digress. Willie chose USC over University of Miami, as well as Oregon. Again, I mentioned he was offered in January. That's when Jason Zandamela split. And then by the time he ended his unofficial visit in March, he committed. He was a Trojan. He told Josh Henson, I want you to develop me. Willie was also one of the 19 guys who were on campus for their official visits over the weekend. Do me a favor. I'm going to give you a couple of quotes here. Tell me Willie doesn't sound like an old school soul. This is what he said after his visit. It was amazing. It's a one-of-a-kind opportunity and a one-of-a-kind visit. Not a lot of people get to do this, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. It felt like I 100% belong there. One of the highlights for Willie, it happened Friday night, first night of the official visit weekend. That's when the group got together. They all hung out at the top of the Coliseum for dinner, and they did a photo shoot. It's when they put on their uniform, spin on the football, do all that kind of cool stuff. Well, not only did they have the dinner and do their photo shoot, they also got to talk to a bunch of former USC players and their experiences coming through the program. This is what Willie said about that. Man, that was special. Having a ton of alumni coming out and speaking highly about USC and their athletics and education, that's something that resonated really strongly with the young man. And check this out. Willie might deserve an assist for getting Hayden Lowe to commit over the weekend. He told WeAreSC.com that the two spoke early during the trip. And after Willie committed to USC, Lowe wanted to know why. This is what Willie told Hayden Lowe. It's all the family aspect of it for me, and I'm kind of a family man. To me, feeling where I belong and feeling part of the family is huge for me. That's a big part of my recruitment. Close quote. Yo, that's an awesome answer. That is a Trojan family type of answer. I'm telling you right now. Never met the guy. Never talked to him. Not yet. I'm looking forward to it. Dude is going to be a great representative of the program. Oh, by the way, if Willie, if you're watching the show, or anybody who knows Willie's watching the show, hit me up. Let me know. I would love to have you come on. Now, we just based on those comments, I think it's obvious. He had a little bit of an impact in Hayden Lowe saying, you know what? I'm pulling the trigger. I ain't going to boring Eugene. I also wonder, though, how much time he spent with Nick Brooks, the offensive lineman from Iowa, who was also on his official visit. I saw the really cool photo edit. It had Nick Brooks in a blocking stance, wearing the number 73 uniform. And then you had commit at quarterback, Juju Smith. He was handing the ball off to running back commit, Riley Wormley. Really cool photo edit. I would call it a home run if Nick Brooks was one of those victory salutes that Coach Riley was throwing out. I don't know if it's true. I have no idea. Still trying to figure out who they belong to. What I can tell you is the folks around USC, the vibe. Brooks was among the offensive players that was out there for their visit. They feel really good about it after this weekend. So who knows? This is what I'll tell you. You need as many Wili Waschers on your roster as possible. Can't have too many of these type of guys. Not the highest rated, but a guy who appreciates everything. Is a guy who wants to work hard. He just wants the opportunity to compete at a place like at USC. Again, it's too bad that he can't come in this year. But those are the type of guys, when they're on their official visits, when the coaches aren't doing the selling and the parents aren't around, it's this type of camaraderie, the bonds that are formed. This is where the recruiting really takes place. The coaches are going to tell you what they think the players want to hear. And the players are going to tell the coaches what they want to hear. And they're going to tour the campus. They're going to talk to the professors, kind of get a feel of what the life is, what it's like being on USC's campus and going to class. But the real impact, it comes from the players, their own peer group. They're the ones who kind of, let's go talk over here. So if they were at Lincoln Riley's house, they're staring out at the Pacific Ocean, sitting in a couple of beach chairs, watching the sunset, having a drink, waiting for the barbecue to finish, listening to the music, the band playing in the background. This is when you'll see 3 or 4 guys kind of, hanging out by themselves, talking. They're not talking video games. They might be, but they're talking about, hey, how cool would it be if we all came to USC together? That's when they're swapping phone numbers. That's what makes official visits so special. It's when most of the work gets done. All right, we'll find out who these commits are. But let's throw up one of these to Wili Wascher. Dude sounds like a true Trojan, and he was helping out on his official visit weekend. Gotta love that, right? Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and a whole lot more. And you can bet it all on FanDuel right now. New customers, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the ballpark. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The off season, been doing this. I've been, giving you some way too early lists. Where's USC on this list? Player position list. How come USC's wide receiver group isn't considered top 10? Yeah. One of the more interesting annual off-season things that comes out is from Athlon Sports. What they do is they go around and they talk to head coaches from all the different conferences, and they start compiling quotes, anonymously, of course, regarding their opponents. So we know USC is no longer in the Pac-12. They are now a member of the big conference. And here's what a few coaches had to say about USC 2024. Let's play a game of guess who said this. Here's the first quote. Lincoln Riley screwed up and held on to a bad situation with his defensive coordinator a season too long. But hiring Antonlynn from across town was a smart move. Kind of a can't beat him, hire him situation, end quote. Now, there was no snark there now, was there? Tell me your name is Kirk Ferentz without telling me your name is Kirk Ferentz. Remember, Kirk had some wild hair bothering him during the bowl season. Couldn't understand why USC and Lincoln Riley get so much attention. And it had to do, some of it had to do with the Iowa Hawkeyes and their prolific offense, or the lack thereof. Look, again, that's my guess. Who else do you think it could be? And I want to limit it to whoever is on USC's schedule. I can't imagine Dan Lanning or Ryan Day had that to say. Possible, doubtful. And yes, Coach Lynn was at UCLA for 1 year. So I guess if you can't beat them, hire them. The year before, USC beat the Bruins. I mean, maybe Deshaun Foster was popping off anonymously. Maybe. I don't know. Here's another comment from the Mensa Society of Anonymous Coaches. Quote, expect improvement schematically overall with the new system, and they've upgraded in the secondary. They'll be better than they were under Alex Grinch. Whoa, no duh, really? You might as well just put my name to that quote, because all of the untrained eyes in the world, they even know that. Once you got rid of Alex Grinch, USC's defense got better. I do find it interesting that whomever this anonymous coach was pointed out that the secondary will be USC's biggest improvement. I'm assuming that it's because who USC brought in through the transfer portal. Kamari Ramsey, John Humphrey from UCLA, who's very familiar with Danton Lynn's system. You have Achille Arnold, safety from Oregon State. DeCarlos Nicholson, the cornerback from Mississippi State. Greedy Vance, safety, cornerback, nickel, Florida State. So it makes sense. I understand why someone would say, hey, I think USC's secondary will be the most improved. And a lot of that has to do with maybe USC didn't really address it as aggressively as they should have in the transfer portal with their interior defensive line. We'll see what happens. Then there was this one. Obviously, they're replacing Caleb Williams, but the bigger question is if they can get both lines playing better, then they can ease the new quarterback in if they're protecting him, and they're getting push on the defensive side. They didn't look anything like the old USC glory teams in the trenches the last few years. I'm thinking maybe James Franklin. Penn State said that one. He's seen USC up close and personal. Remember, I'm picking coaches who are on USC's schedule this year. So if it wasn't James Franklin making that last comment about USC's trench guys, maybe Jed Fish, Washington's new head coach. He was at Arizona last year. Makes sense. Sharon Moore, Michigan's head coach, first year. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, Wolverine fans, but I think his opinion on USC probably carries little weight until he actually plays them. I don't know. Let me know. Was he on Michigan's coaching staff when USC was beating Michigan in the Rose Bowls? I didn't do the research. I didn't look. Wisconsin's Luke Fickell, he knows about USC. I did do the research on this one. He was part of the Ohio State staff when USC beat the Buckeyes back in 2008 and 2009, when USC was considered a very physical team up front, especially on that defensive side of the ball. Those USC teams, they had the guys in the trenches back then. And USC plays Wisconsin this year. Luke Fickell is their new head coach. The last time USC played Minnesota, that was back in 2011. PJ Fleck, well, he was coaching the wide receivers at Rutgers, so I don't think it was him. Who else? Those are the three quotes. Tell me, who do you think it was? I have no idea about the second one, about the secondary. Again, that could have been anybody. Pretty benign. Again, no duh. It's like kind of someone pointing out a red fire truck. You don't need to, nobody needs to tell you it's red. So, there you go. More anonymity out there. People thinking this is what USC needs to do to get back to USC. Wasn't really a lot of negativity. Maybe that first one. A lot of truth. USC does need to look like the old USC on the offensive line and on their defensive line. We'll see if they're closer to that this year as they're playing in the big. Remember, they kick off against LSU first. We'll find out how big, how strong, how physical USC is going to be. Will they be able to compete in the big this year? I think a lot of it's overblown. But we know USC's got a lot to prove. So we'll find out. I'll be back with another episode of Locked On USC tomorrow. I'll be digging. I'll have some recruiting information for you. I'll have some team information for you. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.